The Socratic method, or also called as Socratic conversation, is one of the best philosophies ever because it is unintentional and open-minded. But how and who actually is Socrates? Let's start. Socrates is very famous for ethical teachings, but it's not just about teachings because he was not standing in front of people teaching. Maybe sometimes, but his basic and new developed thing was the Socratic method, his conversation style with which he could bring people to deeper insights. With Socrates, there was a new epoch. Not the nature or the outer world was center stage anymore, but with Socrates, humanity took center stage. And many people say he's so famous for his ethics. Yes, he brought ethics, but at the same time, there were other movements also which brought ethics in this world. So this was not the main aspect of Socrates. Socrates' main aspect was also, he talked about ethics, but the thing was, he was not teaching, but instead he opened people. He freed them from their old mindsets, that they are open for new perspectives just through his conversation method. So that means he was very cool. He came to the marketplace or to the gym. At this time, there were gyms which were much bigger than today, and many people went there. It was a famous movement at this time because it was 2,500 years ago. Many wars happened on this world, also in ancient Greece, and so that's why. But just besides, the thing is, Socrates went to public places, whether it's a gym or marketplace, and there he talked to people. First, he just started with a small talk, like an everyday life topic, but later he came more and more closer to an ethical aspect. He started with a normal topic. Small talk is good to open the people, first of all, for a conversation in general, but also it is easier for them compared to when you directly start with a deep ethical topic. Now, this would over-challenge so many, so that's why he started with an easy topic, which was from their everyday life. For example, he came to a goldsmith or so on the marketplace, and he just asked about this work or this everyday life from this person. And then the thing was that Socrates just asked questions. So Socrates, as I told, was not teaching. Most of the time, he let the other person talk. But then he always asked questions in between. That was his basic style of this famous method. So the person talked from his everyday life, and then Socrates asked questions. And he continued like this. The person talked, and Socrates asked questions. And this goes on and on until the person got a breakdown. Because Socrates tried to bring the person in an insecure level, not just to blame the person, not to make him or her insecure. That was not his target. He never was about having right, or he didn't want to make the people feeling bad or so. That was never his aim. He wanted to open this person still. He wanted to do something good, but not to be just ethical good, but instead to make the person open to understand ethics on a deeper level. But this can just happen when the person first is open-minded, when he leaves and lets go his meaning about a thing, when he forget what he already knew before, then he will become open for new perspectives. Actually, this is true research compared to other research, which I explained earlier, which is empirical and just observing things. Because when you observe, you interpret your data, and then you just interpret it also with your mindset, with what we already know. And so, but this will not bring new results. This will always just give more evidence for the same result, but this will not bring new results and to find and to open to new dimensions and to other things, because this is still limited. But Socrates went through these limits while opening these people. So they became free from their mindsets, from their beliefs, from their thoughts, from their what they believed earlier, from their old knowledge, from their meaning. Basically, it was just meaning. Because it was a marketplace. Many people went there just to get new information, what's new in the city, blah, blah, blah. This was just a blah, 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 because Socrates was knowing this. And it was not true knowledge. For Socrates, true knowledge comes from the inside. Let's explain the whole Socratic method. There is a certain term called meiotics. Some researchers say that this is synonym to the Socratic method. So instead, Socratic method or conversation, they use the word meiotics. But the meiotics actually is only a part of the conversation method. Or you can also say, yes, it's the actual conversation when it is in the final stage. And I want to begin with it because that you see what for good results are there. Because when meiotics is reached and the conversation is really in the flow, then many insights appear. Not insights from Socrates, because Socrates is, as I said, always asking the person, and out of the person, suddenly insights come when they are in the meiotics, in the actual conversation. But not insights which the person has thought about in a certain way, but instead insights from a deeper level, from, you can say, from the higher self of the person. I will come to that difference between higher self and ego when we come to another part of the conversation. So wisdom in general, I would say, is a more whole term for many insights. Intuition is also kind of thing from the higher self, which is there helping you to get the insights, to get ideas. You can also here differ between the Platonic ideas, which are basic things which doesn't exist in this world, but instead, as Plato said, they exist somewhere else, what is similar to heaven, and everything which is in the material world is only a picture of the true ideas. But you can also say ideas in general as insights that you get, innovation, that you have a good idea. And what comes then is creativity and motivation. Many people in all branches, all over the world, they wish to have more creativity, more motivation, more concentration, whatever is there. And many people lack that because they are never coming in this thing, because they don't have great ideas, they don't have insights, because always great ideas come from inside of someone and are never copied from anything which is already existing in this world. And that's why this method is so essential, because it brings you to your inner parts of the soul and to something higher, and that brings you to new ideas which doesn't exist yet. And that's why then you are so motivated to bring them out in the world, to write a book or to paint a picture. And then these things come out of you, and then you manifest them in the world, in the material world. But they come first from deep inside of the soul. And that's possible through the Socratic method. Also, it is possible through other methods like meditation. But the Socratic method is one aspect where it is also possible with. But to come to this great results, you have to go through the first stage, which is the elenchos, or in English more spoken, maybe elenkos. So I don't know. This is the first part which I have described previously when he started with the small talk of the everyday life of the goldsmith or something. And then it comes to that aporia, and after then to the meiotics. But what is the elenchos? It is the normal way of thinking where there are no insights, no intuition, and all the other results are also lacking in everyday life, mostly. Because we have conditions from upbringing and education. We are conditioned with rewards and punishment. All our whole life, the whole society gave us rewards when we adjust to the society and punishment when we don't adjust. But for new ideas, there is no space. Then you will be rejected or punished, defamed, whatever is there. Very easy example, a person always adjusts to their upbringers because it is easy, then you always get the reward. The whole childhood, it is good for this person to get the reward. He or she is always very nice, very kind, behaving perfectly. But this will not work in adulthood. When this person grows up and still is only nice, but there are not rewards anymore. You are too much nice in society as an adult, and everyone will bully you. It is not possible to keep this behavior of the nice child. But that was a condition, and then people suffer when they get adult. And so we got many beliefs. We got many beliefs, and many faults are there, even unconscious faults. First, they are conscious when you are, it depends how conscious you are as child, and later they become unconscious. So thoughts like, what will people think of me? I should wear this and that clothes that people think good of me. I should do this and that people think good. What will the neighbors think? What will my boss think? You are always adjusting still, and you have many beliefs in your everyday life based on these conditions, on the education, on the upbringing. You believe many things which are actually not true because they are only conditioned. They are only taught from someone who believed the same things. And so it's only belief. Even Socrates is criticizing that is only belief. Mindsets. Meaning is a very basic word he also takes for the belief, but meaning is more you believe it so intensely that you really believe that it is your own meaning. But this is not your own meaning. You take it from someone else. Someone has spread something. You take the same idea, you copy it, you can say, and then you say it's your meaning, but it's not really your meaning. You only have copied. And the next thing is, even if you have your own meaning, that's the next problem. In most cases, it is not true knowledge. Because when someone is only creating a meaning about anything, it is not knowledge, because there is no evidence on it. It's only a meaning. That's especially so from the marketplace, where many people come and they just tell anything, and they have their meanings about this and that. But this is not the truth, because they have not investigated things enough. And so they create their whole mindsets about the whole world, which is, you could say mindset is more a whole thing from many meanings and many beliefs. And so they create their whole personality of mindsets. And when suddenly things happen in everyday life, they wonder why things doesn't work, and they don't have any answer. They don't have a solution to solve problems, because they're hanging in patterns which are not very good, actually. They are hanging in fixed mindsets. And Socrates wants to bring them out, and that's why he brings the person in the aporia. That's a timeline. I have painted as timeline here, that you can see it goes from left to the right, and the aporia has to come. And that's why he always asks questions, even in the elenchos already, that he breaks down the personality of his counterpart. His goal is to break his ego. And that's the aporia. The aporia is actually only a breakdown. Only he wants to make the person shaking, and that the person humbles, but not to make himself bigger, but instead the person should humble, because he wanted to make the ego smaller, because the ego is behind all these meanings and beliefs. And that's why the aporia is so necessary, because insights and wisdom and all these things on the right side, they are not possible when the ego is there, because ego always believes I'm right, I'm true, all the others are wrong. And even ego doesn't look in the inside, and then you will never get access to the true wisdom which lies inside of you. And that's why Socrates has to break the egos of the people first. And so they become open, and with this openness, they are able to get access to the intuition and that. Let's come to an example. A good example here is that he once talked with a famous judge. Judges, as you know, they know their laws. They know how to judge people. They know which punishments they have to give for which deed. And so they have a very strong knowledge of a thing, because all of their knowledge is in the law books. And suddenly Socrates comes to this marketplace, meets this person by accident, and he tried to bring him to fall. And the interesting aspect is that with this person, he directly could start to talk about an ethical topic. And this was justice, because he talked with a judge. And of course, then justice is the aspect from his job. So he went to this judge, and it was funny, and he asked, what is justice? And this judge tried to explain with an example, when, for example, someone steals and then he gets punishment from the law and from the judge. So he was thinking that's the only thing. Then Socrates was saying, no, this was just an example, but still we don't know what is justice in general. So try to define justice, please. And then he again tried something, but again, it not worked, because it came just from the laws, from the books, what the person has learned. But then it was limited, because it was just limited to the knowledge of the book. But this was never really saying what justice actually is. And so again and again, Socrates with his question tried to bring this person to fall, just fall on a mental level, that this person gets confused and in this insecurity called aporia, that after then this person suddenly is open-minded and is down that there is more knowledge from inside when he gets the access, when Socrates has success, that this person gets open-minded. But most of the time, these people which had a high position in the city or in the state, they were not so open-minded. They were limited because their egos were so strong due to their position and to their lifestyle, that they have this good thing and that they are such a famous person or so. And this brought them to a very negative thing, that their ego was so strong, and they still believe that this is true what they think, and there are no other results, and there are no other things. There is no knowledge, there is no insight, there is no nothing. So they were also like nowadays people are in the smartphone and entangled in their work. It was 2,500 years ago. There is not really a change through thousands of years. But there were a few which were open-minded. These were basically young people. Socrates was also surrounded by many followers, which were about 20, 25. They were still open because they were not so established. They had not their high position in society like that lawyer or judge. So they were open-minded, still wanted to learn. Actually, they were expected to learn, but they were just following him, watching him, how he spoke with people on the marketplace. So sometimes he also spoke with some of the students, but sometimes he was just giving this show, asking others spontaneously. But he never taught. There are maybe very few teachings, or which basically the knowledge of Socrates you can't find in the books, because he didn't wrote. And just a few of his students wrote. For example, Plato. Plato is the famous student of him, and he wrote a lot. And there are some teachings in Plato's writings, but researchers on Plato say that these teachings could also be thoughts from Plato, which he integrated. So it's not clear if they are really from Socrates, or that Plato just used Socrates in his books because he was writing like a screenplay. In Socrates or Plato's time, theater was very famous, and it was also famous when you became a writer to write screenplays. And so Plato wrote in dialogues. So he could also use Socrates for his own ideas. That is not absolutely clear. Researchers on that some say so, some say so. But still, most of the people say that Socrates never taught. His special method was about just asking questions to bring this person out of this balance of this outer living style, which was just on the surface. So that means the other person came out of balance, got in this aporia, gave up their ego and their meaning and everything what has to do, and where the ego was craving or holding on to, and let go these old things or this old knowledge, meaning. Then these people became open-minded, and suddenly the intuition came. So they were connected with the higher self, and they brought out other knowledge, other perspectives, new research, new ideas. And I guess they also felt this blissful thing, this delightful thing, which meditators also have, or other people which have this inner access. I hope this video could help some. If you have some other ideas, if you have some contributions, please let me know down below in the comments. Have a good time. See you soon. Bye.